All right, everyone. Well, look, I haven't made a clip for a while, but this particular thing I wanted to talk about relates to alchemy and the idea of the alchemist turning lead into gold. So I believe that's a metaphor. So imagine the analogy of you all integrate within an energy field that affects us and we affect it on certain levels. If collectively that whole energy field is feeling a certain way, then it will pull you into feeling the same way without thinking for yourself. So your thoughts are not really your own. Where I'm going with this is having an understanding that we interact with this energy field on all levels, individually and collectively all the time. And what we do, in fact, is have a fair degree of power in terms of how we can manipulate that energy towards the greater good for ourselves, as opposed to fall into the spiral of following the script of everybody else feeling depressed. We have a degree of power. That's why they say that you have the power to co-create your experience within this realm. So if it's a script unfolding and you're blindly fed the script and you blindly follow the script, then you're going to feel a certain way. But if it's a script unfolding that you navigate as an explorer for yourself and choose and think for yourself how you respond to what you're given, then your experience within this realm becomes very, very different. So here's what I mean by, let's say you're offered continuous input data that depresses the shit out of you, lead, and you take said data and script and you rewrite your own fucking script with your own intellect, with your own intelligent thinking, with your own heartfelt response, and with your own gut instinct, and with the knowledge that you have the absolute God-given right to be here and thrive within this realm. No one has their right to put their foot on anyone. So turning your experiences into much better experiences would be the metaphor for lead to gold, right? So I wrote this article, which I'll probably put up in 2 parts, but I'm going to read it from here. So, becoming the alchemist you truly are. I've come to recognize that there is a field of energy all around us all that we constantly influence and are influenced by. Some of the more open-minded scientists of the modern day are actually acknowledging this very fact. Rupert Sheldrake talks about this field in depth in his talks and lectures, and even wrote an extremely in-depth book about the subject called The Morphic Resonance. Now, many left-brain driven, clinically linear, indoctrinated people of the science world will often say that the space that you see between people and others is simply empty space. But many others believe that this is simply not so. There is no empty space within this field of energy that surrounds us all. All is occupied by an energetic of some kind. Now, one good explanation for this would be Wi-Fi. You can connect to the Wi-Fi field of information at the click of a button. But can you see it? No, you can't see it. Well, if you can't see that, I wonder what else we can't see within this limited bandwidth of human vision that we've been given. Now, if you look at any of the pictorial advertising posters for the series of documentaries, films titled The Matrix. So 1 to 4, you had a trilogy, the Matrix films, and then they made a 4th one. You will see when they advertise these films that the poster will be a depiction of some kind, or the photos or advertising associated to the Matrix will be depictions in green of a grid-like shape, almost web-like, along with binary codes, 0s and 1s, depicting shapes and objects of everything, including that we cannot see all around us. And it displays it as if it's data on the screen. So here's where I'm going with this. The field of energy around us all has a profound effect on our thoughts and feelings every moment of our lives. So understand that our thoughts that create our feelings are our life existence, right? Now, this field of energy will affect us on an individual level as well as on a large collective scale. So here's some quick examples of influence by the energy around you or influencing it yourself. So imagine walking into a room, two people have had a really bad row. The row's finished and you can't hear any shouting, but you walk in there and you just feel this energy, this atmosphere stuck to the walls. Oh God, blimey, someone had a row in here. Well, that energetic that you're feeling, you can't see, just like the Wi-Fi, but it's around you. It's within the field of energy that surrounds you. Right? Conversely, imagine that you were feeling extremely buoyant and then people come into your environment and all of a sudden now they become perky. Well, what's up with you? You want a promise? What? You won a lottery? And you're just uplifted and buoyant and like yawning, enthusiasm becomes contagious. They seem now motivated by your emotional state, by your energetic that you've put out into the field. So we can constantly influence the energetic and be influenced by it. It can be influenced by it on a collective scale. So imagine walking into an environment and unknowingly to you, there was a 2-minute silence arranged at 12 o'clock for a recent catastrophe disaster where unfortunately people died, and there was a 2-minute silence. And all of a sudden you walked in, you were of a quite high energetic yourself, and then you feel everybody stood still, and you'd be like, oh, wow, what's going on? And then you probably realise, oh yeah, a 2-minute silence, or they may announce it. And now you take part in that 2-minute silence. And you recognise as you take part, the energetic that you've walked into has completely changed your emotional state into one of very sombre, very quiet, mourning in the real sense of the word, if you like. And that was influenced by the energetic around you. So it's just an example, a couple examples of how this energy field affects us if we are unaware of it, or even when we are aware of it. So it will affect us individually and on a collective scale. Well, this energetic, I'm here to tell you, is being constantly manipulated, constantly influenced by nefarious outside influence, constantly, on an individual and a collective scale. This outside manipulation is and has controlled the thoughts and feelings of entire populations within this realm for as long as men have existed. The occult or hidden knowledge that has been imparted and bestowed upon the so-called global elite minority has allowed them a huge power disparity to control the masses since forever. So when we talk about the occult, you think the occult is like black magic. The occult is just hidden knowledge. And if a group of individuals have hidden knowledge that allows them a huge power disparity that you don't have, it also gives a degree of control. And that control will be obtained by manipulation. Manipulation of what everyone and every organic living thing on this planet is constantly integrating with a field of energy. The hidden knowledge that has allowed others to control and manipulate how others think and feel and therefore experience within this energetic realm that surrounds us all is magic. Magic that has been manipulated for dark and nefarious means that in turn drive their dark and nefarious agendas. Now think about this for a second. Your thoughts dictate your feelings, and your feelings are your experience. Moment to moment, within every moment that you have within your life in this realm, living in this skin suit, experiencing life through the senses that you have, moment to moment, it is potentially manipulated and controlled how you feel about that. Now imagine if those thoughts are not your own, and instead those imposed upon you as an overwhelming collective. So a narrative is put out there that overwhelmingly the majority follow and believe, and therefore put their feeling expressions out into the field that surrounds you. Well, that's likely to influence you. It's likely to influence people that have not a strong mind, that do not feel from the heart, do not think clinically, do not have a gut instinct. You'll just simply follow. In which case, that's your experience. Those are your thoughts. That's how it makes you feel, and that's your life experience. Well, that's been manipulated because those thoughts weren't your own. They've been imposed. But many have just come to accept that as their lot for the simple reason they don't know that how they think, how they choose to think, and where they apply their attention and intention, and what they apply their attention on and their intention to, is a choice that they have. They have that choice and that power to make the decision as to where to put their thoughts, as to how to apply thought to what you're being presented. You can choose how to do that. You don't simply need to follow. When it has been said that we all have the power to co-create our own experience within this realm, this is how. But if such mind control dictates a script that all blindly follow, without thinking, without using holistic intelligence, then that's going to be the experience for the collective. When really we all have a hidden within us the intellect, the wisdom, the power and the knowledge to write our own script, thereby dictating how we respond to what we're presented. This ties in with the lead to gold analogy, right? So I can choose what I do or what I'm given. And this wasn't something that's just popped out there. I mean, philosophers and Stoics been talking about you can choose what you do with what you're given. Well, that is, in most cases, we'll be given lead, we'll be given shit. So it's important that we strive to at least turn that lead into gold. All right, so if there is the so-called powers that be that are a part of the small minority that have this hidden knowledge of how to manipulate others, why would they do that? And who the fuck are they? Is questions that you will hear. Well, the why is simple enough. If you wanted to completely control the dynamic of how an entire realm of populations operated and you could control that, then you would. Particularly if you were nefarious and you had an agenda. But primarily, it's mainly in the known circles talked about that this is done for the manipulation of the energetic field is done for dark and nefarious purposes, seeking to conjure and cultivate consistent fear, fight, flight response dynamic in the people of this population. Every single narrative that comes is to fearmonger, constant fear porn all the time, to create fear, dread, depression, foreboding. It's the same with historical events, so-called historical events. There's famine, there's wars, there's depression, there's breakdown, there's economy collapse. All of these things happen on a pattern and they create the same collective energetic of dread, right? So this has been talked about in many texts by many different factions of people for thousands of years, or so-called thousands of years, for hundreds of years at least, I would say. It's separated by many, many miles, and they've all talked about a similar thing, given it a different name, but same description for the energy. So the great Archon, the rulers, right? The Anunnaki is what the Egyptians call it. The Muslims call it the Jinn, the hidden or unseen force. Catholics might call it Satan. An entity or force that feeds and thrives off the energetic created by pain and suffering. Now, that refers me back to an earlier sentence when I said, now imagine if those thoughts are not your own. Instead, they are imposed upon you as an overwhelming collective that has been nefariously manipulated to induce feelings of sorrow, dread, pain and suffering. Well, that is now your life experience, whether you like it or not. So, regardless of what you think about what I've just said, many greater minds than me, for a very significantly long period of time, have said before and are now saying the same thing. So if that is the case, and we are being constantly manipulated, this soul is here just to be farmed for misery, for whatever reason, then we need to recognize that we have within us the power to choose how we respond. I believe we are a fragment of creation, of all source, the source of all things. If that is God, God's source, creation of all things, we are a part of that. We are a speck of that inside of this meat suit with a limited bandwidth and 5 senses. But nonetheless, God is within us. We are it, and it is us, as is you. God is not outside of us, something that we have to worship. We are God. Each and every one of us. We are part of that. And within that, we have the power to express ourselves, and we have the power to follow our heart, and we have the power to use our intellect as we choose, as we see fit. But if that's been manipulated, brainwashed, mind controlled in some way, and you're just following the script, well, you're never going to know what you are really capable of as the soul, the person, or the sentient being that you are. And I'm here to tell you that you turn lead into gold by choosing how you think. So you choose how you feel about it and what you do about it and the response you get back from that. You choose that. So you can co-create that. You can make an absolute heaven of a hellish place, or you could make hell of heaven. And it comes from how you think. And that's on you to choose and not allowed to be manipulated. This is how they use dark magic to influence. Remember, the interactive field that I talked about, if you have any doubts as to whether you think that is so or not, then as I said, think of a time that you walked into a room where 2 people were having an argument and you could feel it. You could just feel the negative energetic in the atmosphere. And again, the example I gave of walking into a 2-minute silence for some recent tragedy where people have died. Well, you probably now take part, you realize an immediate heaviness to the surrounding environment, because the collective energetic within this interactive field has taken prominence. You will feel it on a collective level. The collective energy in the immediate environment has been manipulated. Or on a more individual and positive note, if you walked into a room in a really great mood and the people around you started to feel the same way, then your energetic is rubbing off on them. It's having an influence on them. So they say enthusiasm is like yawning, contagious. So if you have enthusiasm, you can rub it off on other people, then there's motivation, all of a sudden there's a change in state, now there's a change in the energetic field. And that was influenced by you. So you can influence it, and it can influence you on a collective and individual level. Another good example is with a stand-up comedian, a really good stand-up comedian whose solo energetic will positively influence everyone's energy in that room with laughter. Energy influences behavior for a fact. So if you look at the water experiments that have been done in Japan, where the individual did some experimentation on ice flakes, and playing a certain frequency, 432 frequency of beat around it with loving thoughts, loving vibes, sending beautiful words and thoughts to the icicle, and it would make a beautiful shape. And then conversely, they reverse the energetic, where words of hate and threats and nasty, heavy feelings was directed at the snowflake, and you would see it distort. So look at the experiments that have been done on water and icicles, and you will see that it's manipulated by the outside energetic. I'm probably going to follow up this video with just a bit more talk about this kind of things, particularly on okay then, so what can we do about it? Because that's the alchemy. But the bottom line is, you need to start applying intelligent thinking to anything that you read, anything that you are presented. Obviously, you don't want to be looking at the mainstream media bollocks. If you still are, then you're still watching the BBC, then this video is not for you anyway. But if you are on some degree now starting to wake up to the shit that's going on around us, and also to wake up on a spiritual level as to what we really are, then you should now question everything. You should absolutely question everything. And you should question it with what the shamans say were the 3 modes of intellect. Reasoning from an intelligent mind. How does that seem to me? Let me look at that. Let me draw back. Rather than left brain linear focus pinpoint, oh, they say this, we must do that. Draw right back and implement the right side hemisphere of your brain that looks at the bigger picture, looks ahead a few steps, feels how that is on everything in the ecosystem in terms of with care, with compassion, with love. So rather than linear, go, get, take, do, destroy, which is how this brain, this realm is being controlled and driven, we need that right brain care, compassion. So I would suggest to you that using critical thinking would be to stop dead in the tracks and do that. Make sure you're engaging both hemispheres. How does this sound to me? How does this feel to me? And that brings you to the heartfelt. Your heart will never lie to you. If you ask your heart anything, if you know in your heart that you feel this about that, then you know that that's truth. Just start to wake that up, because the heart's been put to sleep and the mind's been controlled. And finally, gut instinct. Your gut, how does it feel in your gut? Use all three modes of intellect when you're fed a script, and decide as to whether or not now you wish to follow that script to the letter, just like the rest of the masses, or you choose to disconnect yourself from it as well and as best as you can. Now, any immediate problem that comes your way, you will in the moment bring all your faculties, all your resources, all your intellect, all your power, all your thinking to bear on the problem then and there on the moment. But until that time comes, don't spend what you have worrying about shit you can't do, that's to come or not, or shit that's happened. You focus on the now, right? What is it I can do right now that will better my day? Whether that's tidying your cupboard, whether that's cleaning your house, whether that's getting your affairs in order, whether that's catching up on that project that you needed to do, whether that's having a really good training session, whatever the fuck it is. Maybe it's just taking a barefoot walk in nature and just taking in the moment. That is in your control, moment to moment to moment. So you can choose what you do with that. You can choose how you think about that, where you apply your attention to that, and where you apply your intention. And that will be your life experience in the moment. You can make the very best out of a bad thing, or the very worst out of a good thing. It's on you to choose whether you choose to use alchemy and turn the lead to gold, or be the hammer or be the anvil. It's up to you. Peace.